Hello, everyone. It is Miguel Fenrick here with Sask Music as they celebrate Black History Month 2026. We are chatting with some of Saskatoon's most exciting Black musicians, and today we're chatting with Dyelle. Thank you for joining us today.
How you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Amazing.
Good to be here.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. I want to know, when did you first know that you wanted to make music?
Man, such a long time ago. I'd say ever since I was a kid, in class, I found myself doing really well when it comes to like poetry or like reciting poems and stuff. So I think that was probably when it really started. You know, I started. I fell in love with hip hop like around 11, 12. You know, so I started memorizing every other artist's lyrics and just like performing it, rapping it to my friends, you know. And I even went ahead and did one at my dad's work back in the day when I was 12. And you know, I think that's what kind of started it. And then I started writing my own stuff and started building meaning and passion behind that, you know.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because you've said before that it all started in 2014, right? When you performed an original song at your high school talent show?
Right.
Walk us through that process, right? So like you're sitting at home and you think, I'm gonna write a song. How do you know how to write or what to write? What was that like for you?
Well, like, it all started before then, like, you know, like I just mentioned about performing at my dad's work. That was like 2011. I was in Kuwait at the time, and that was when I started like really getting into writing my stuff. But 2014, that was around when I moved to Canada, and there was a talent show going on, you know, and I felt like I was watching it, you know, and one of my homeboys, you know, shout out Tombe, you know, he was like, man, that could be you up there. And I was like, you right, you know, and I kind of just made that decision that, you know, next year I'm finna make that happen. And I did, and it was very exciting, you know, to say the least. I think it inspired and sparked something, and I couldn't stop there. You know, I kept going, and
Yeah.
I knew that was what I want to do for real. You know.
Yeah, and so you knew from that point that like there was something about it that you just loved, like the performance element, yeah?
Yeah, you know, and that was when I was just, you know, getting into it. You know, I wouldn't say I was like the best artist or like the best writer at the time, but it was beyond that. You know, it's bigger than just that. It's like being able to create something that everyone can feel like they belong. You know, being able to create something that, you know, can literally change, if not the city, change the world. You know, like it's bigger than just, you know, music and just a song or a rap, you know?
Absolutely. And I want to take it back then to 2011, you know, when you just started to get this bug for writing music. How? Like, how did you decide or feel that music was the avenue? Like, why not writing plays or novels? Like, why was it music for you?
Yeah, like I said, like when I was a kid, just being able to memorize poems and being able to recite it back, like that was just something I loved doing. It's something that I felt like nobody could take away from me, you know, in a sense. Like, this is what I like to do and I love to do it. And I feel like I'm good at it, you know what I'm saying? And yeah, and at the time, I started listening to a lot of hip hop idols, you know, everybody, Tupac, you know, 50 Cent, you know, all them guys. And Eminem, Slim Shady at the time. I was very impressed with how he was able to put words together. And at the time, I was learning like phonics, because in Kuwait I went to like an American school and did like kind of, yeah, I learned phonics and learned how to speak, you know, properly and stuff like that. So I was very impressed with how Eminem was able to like use these words and like create a whole scene while rhyming and stuff like that. So I got really into that. You know, every night I was writing, like literally every night. I still have books of like dates, and like I got like 4 or 5 books of just me writing and like trying to understand and trying to figure out, how to really write a song, and not just a song like a song that's captivating, a song that people can relate to, a song that has replay value. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And yeah, it just, all this stuff just kind of started coming to me, and that's how I knew that this is something that I can't just put away or put to the side.
Yeah.
It's something I gotta go for. It's something I gotta really chase. So, or attract or whatnot. So
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. And so then, you're in Canada and you have that talent show, and then another talent show the year after. And then 4 years after that first talent show, you released your first mixtape,
Right.
Late Night in
Late
2018. What did it feel to go from a high school student performing on a talent show stage to having a mixtape out in the world?
Yeah, it felt like shit, I made it. In a way, cause like I was just this kid in Kuwait, you know what I mean? Like from Nigeria, trying to like figure out this hip hop thing, not knowing how I'm gonna do it, not knowing what step to take, you know what I mean? I'm not sure if you're familiar with Kuwait. It's a Middle East country, so it's like no idea of how things was gonna play out, but I set my mind to that this was what I was gonna do. And thankful to God, we made it to Canada, and I saw it as a huge opportunity to really make this happen, because I wouldn't have been able to do it well, at least I felt like how I felt like, so you just feel like, God is like putting me in places and situations where I could make it happen if I wanted to. And it just felt like, this was it. So, but anyways, we dropped that Late Nights mixtape. I was with Loyalty Entertainment at the time. It was a local label, and we were going really hard, and it was very exciting. A lot of hit and a lot of misses, but I fell in love with the process. I fell in love with the journey itself. We were traveling to Toronto, BC, and just doing shows, pushing the mixtape, and that's just something you can't buy. Those are moments that you can't forget about. Those are things that really make life worth living. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it felt really great, and I knew that I had to keep going, because that was just the beginning, right? I mean, like, I just released an album last year, and I compare it sometimes, and I'm like, wow, we came a long way. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, it was a surreal feeling,
You said that after that first mixtape that it really opened up a lot of opportunities for you.
Yeah.
Like what? What are some opportunities?
Well, a lot of connections and shows. I got a chance to perform with Merkules, Richdakid. A lot of big artists back then. Money Mitch from out here in Canada. Houdini from out here in Canada. A lot of big names, heavy hitters out here, and that really kind of set the pace for me in a way where, like, okay, we see what could come from this, and we see how far we've gone with this. The more we push, the better things are gonna get. We could stop here and say, okay, we did it, and this is it. But like, the chase or the journey is just, it's never ending. Gotta keep going. So things like that, opening doors for me to be able to travel, understanding that connection is really key. You know what I'm saying? Like being able to make connections out of the, not just province, but out of the country, and linking up with artists from out there, and you learn a lot. You learn a lot, and those are some of the things that I'm grateful for.
Yeah, you've talked about that too, right? Like you've traveled to Los Angeles in 2023 and recorded music and a music video with Ice Cream, and you were in Texas to record songs with like Glue Studios last year, right? So there's like so many different parts of this journey, right? Why do you feel for yourself that it's important to keep pushing, to keep going, to keep following that journey?
Well, what is life, I feel like in life, man, like you know, in order for you to be happy, you know, you gotta do things that make you happy. You gotta do things that make you feel fulfilled, right? You gotta follow your passion, you know. I believe that everyone is here for a purpose, you know, and once you find that, you understand it, and you know, you get to sit in it for a bit, and that's just what you got to do in this life, you know what I mean? Like, you could try something else and you just don't get the same fulfillment. You could try other things. Like, I've tried a lot of stuff, you know. I've worked in a lot of places that you probably be surprised, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But there's nothing else that give me that fulfillment. There's nothing else that make me feel like I'm doing what I'm supposed to do on this earth, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And why then? Like, why hip hop? Like, why? There's so many other, like you've mentioned, things that you've done. Why do you keep coming back to the hip hop itself?
Right, I think that's passion, you know? And like, as for a lot of artists, you know, we all kind of developed this, you know, music, this love for music, hip hop, due to like, you know, certain place we were in life, you know, like some people develop the love for this music stuff through like trauma or like, you know, or whatever they were going through in life, you know, and I felt like I was, at the time in my life, hip hop was there for me in some sense, you know what I mean? And apart from just that, just music, I love music, you know, and I think that's why, you know what I mean? Like, you know, there's not really a straight answer to why I keep coming back. I think, like I said, you know, purpose, you know, the passion, the love for it, the feeling I get when I do it, and being fulfilled, you know. Like I said, we're all on this earth for a reason, and some are lucky to find it early, some find it later, and you know, we got to do what we're meant to do here, or else, you know, it's like a failed, you know, failed mission, you dig?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to know a little bit more about your recent EP, No Handout, that dropped in November last year. Tell me about the process of creating that EP.
Well, this was a first EP I recorded myself. I had a few people help with the mixing and mastering, but like, it was kind of a process where I had to, you know, apart from, you know, my personal life, you know, because around that time, well, it's like I had to kind of separate myself in a sense. You know, I had to kind of like stick to myself for a little bit and just try to understand that, you know, this process and this journey, you know, is not for everyone, you know, and like, you know, I feel like a lot of artists go through that that dilemma with like friendship and like actual business when it comes to like, you know, your passion, you know, like you can't mix friendship and passion in a way, in a sense, you know. It's like everyone has to have the same passion in order to make things work, right?
Yeah.
Or else there's gonna be somewhere along the journey where somebody won't be able to take it no more, or somebody just don't feel the same urge or don't feel the same passion for it anymore, you know what I'm saying? So I was in that little phase, and I realized, man, I really gotta get everything done myself, you know. It's been over a decade I've been doing this music stuff, and you know, we ain't had no handouts, you know, just a lot of support, you know, and that's basically, you know, what I'm trying to portray is like, no matter what, no matter if, you know, people aren't reaching out, you know, to help you, you got to do it yourself, you know, because you're here and this is your purpose, this is your journey, you know. As long as you got God, you know, just stay focused, you know, and get things done, you know what I'm saying? So I locked myself in the studio, you know, and I recorded all them songs, and it meant a lot to me because it felt like the beginning of something new.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because I've been recording with a lot of people, like I recorded with a lot of people in the city, you know, and I felt like this was the first time where I took that step to figure it out myself, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. You've mentioned that you've been doing this obviously for over 10 years, but you've also mentioned a couple of times the importance of God, right?
Yeah.
How important is your faith to your music career?
Very important, you know. I've always been the type that believes in God, you know what I'm saying? No matter what, you know, good or bad, you know, whatever, you know, I believe in God, and I know God put us on here for a reason. You know, I know we're here for a purpose, you know, whether it's to change just one person's life, you know, that's still a purpose, that's still, you know, the reason why you're here, you know? And I try my best to, you know, do what I can, but ain't nobody perfect. You know, I understand that nobody's perfect for sure, but you know, I definitely advise everyone to kind of have their own personal relationship, you know, with God, and I feel like with Him, everything's possible, man. Oh, God.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, you talk about having feeling like you made it when you put out that mixtape
Yeah.
post album. Looking back, did you always think that you were going to end up as a hip hop musician?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always knew I was gonna be an artist. You know, I just knew that it was gonna be a process. You know, it wasn't gonna be something like that. It wasn't gonna be something handed out. It wasn't gonna be something that, oh, I just wake up one day and I have everything. I knew it was gonna be something I was gonna have to put in work for.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm willing to put in that work, I can get wherever I want to be, you know. And I thank God, man. I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely. It is that faith, right? It is
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
just
you know,
moving forward
just
in a
moving
way,
forward,
and
right.
letting what will be, right?
Yeah, because I mean, what else you got, right? If you don't have faith, then you gonna slip. You gonna,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah,
you gonna
absolutely.
quit.
Absolutely. Yeah, you are so right. You know, and I think I know what your answer is going to be. But what would you say to a young black musician that's starting out here in Saskatchewan who feels like they don't have it in them or that they can't do it? Maybe they look up to you as a musician. What
Yeah.
would you say to them?
Man, I'd say if you feel like you can't do it, don't do it. Because this journey is gonna come with a lot of ups and downs. You gotta feel like you can do this, you know? You gotta feel like, yeah, I feel like if I'm not doing this, then I'm not really doing what I'm supposed to. I'm not really living for real if I'm not doing this, you know? And if you feel like that, you can definitely do it, you know? All you gotta do is lock in, you know? Don't listen to too many people. I get it, you know? Get some good advice, you know? But be very, very picky with who you listen to. Stay true to yourself, because ain't nobody can play you better than you. You know what I'm saying? So stay true to yourself. Let's lock in. You know what you gotta do. Everybody knows what they gotta do, you know? It's like if you're aiming towards something, it's like we have this, it's beyond subconscious, you know? It's like the spirit that lives in us that, you know, kind of shows you things you gotta do, like, okay, maybe I need to work on this more. But then it's either you take those steps or you don't, right? So I feel like you gotta just stay true to yourself, understand who you are, you know, learn to be alone, you know, learn to be by yourself, you know, and that'll take you a long way for sure.
And you have such sage wisdom. I'm incredibly delighted to hear so many things that I feel are so important for an artist. How did you find this? Like, how did you come to these conclusions, and how did you realize all of the truth that you have?
To be honest, I don't know sometimes, but I don't know. I'm very, like, I look beyond the surface. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like to see beyond what I'm seeing. I like to understand beyond what I'm seeing. And I guess, like, over the years, I grew up around like older people, and like my grandma raised me for the early part of my life, because my mom was working in Kuwait at the time. And when I moved to Kuwait, I was also around a lot of older grandmas that were kind of like looking out for me at the time. So I feel like that kind of set the foundation for me, you know?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And what does success look like for you? Like, how do you know for yourself that you've made it as an artist?
For me, making it is definitely different for everybody, you know? I feel like the world's conception of making it is very misconstrued, because like you can see somebody in the flyest fit and the nicest car, and they really don't have what you think they have. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, it's beyond all the material stuff. You know, making it for me is making my family happy, being happy, feeling fulfilled, being able to go anywhere in the world, you know, being able to connect with whoever I want to, you know, being able to make those moves and live like I'm not being tied up, or live like I'm not a slave, you know, like making it is like just having that flexibility to be able to go around the world and do what I love, making sure my family is happy, you know, making sure the people around me happy. Yeah, that's making it for me.
Have you made it yet?
Not yet.
Not yet.
I'm grateful for where I'm at, because I wouldn't like, I know my younger self will be very happy where I'm at right now. But I've also grown a lot, and I know what it takes to say you've made it, you know. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful though for where I'm at, 100%.
Yeah.
You know, but I know there's more work to be done, you know, personally and with my artistry or whatnot, you know.
And with that, what is next for you? What are those things that you'll be working on as an artist and musician?
Well, lately I've been taking time with myself and just working on, you know, doing that inner work, I guess.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like I need to connect with myself, like, stronger. I need to have a better relationship with myself, like, you know, and with God as well, you know. I'm trying to like just understand, because there's so much going on in this world right now, and the truth is being exposed, right? And I'm just trying to make sure I'm not lost in the music world, because the reality is different, right? I want to make sure my mind is, you know, I have a strong mental space, because once that's in alignment, everything else is gonna fall through, especially with music, being an artist. Once you have that good connection, good relationship with yourself, I feel like your artistry, your work is gonna come out a little bit different.
Yeah, and we also have to acknowledge that it's Black History Month this month, right?
Right.
And so, you know, having lived in Nigeria and in Kuwait and then moved here to Canada, what does it mean for you to be a Black musician in Saskatchewan in 2026?
It means a lot, you know, being able to motivate and being able to, you know, show the younger generation that, you know, you can really do whatever you want to do, whatever you put your mind to. You know, I just graduated university too, and that was just basically to show the young generation, yo, like, don't listen to nobody. Like, bro, you can do whatever you want to do, whatever you feel like you're meant to do on this earth, you can do it. You know, don't listen to, you know, the perception of other people. Like, you know, I just want to be there. I want to be somebody that, you know, they can all, you know, look and say, damn, if he can do it, yeah, we can do it. Let's lock in, you know. You know, like, just somebody that motivates all the young generation. That would be dope. That's what I think it means, right?
Yeah.
I kind of lost track of the question, but
no, you're good. You're
You
totally
know.
good. And you've put out that first EP. Are you working on any other new music right now?
yes, actually, I'm very excited to drop this single, but probably be sometime next month. Yeah, I'm trying to get more into that positive energy vibe, but it still gotta have that energy, you know. It gotta have that high energy. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen me perform, but I'm very like, it's like I got ADHD on stage, you know. I ain't gonna lie. But yeah, I just like to bring that vibe, you know, to the scene where it's like, enjoy it, you know, like we're here, we're all here together, man. Like let's have a good time.
And is that going to come out in the single then, do you think?
Yeah, by the summertime.
Yeah.
By the summertime, I'll be pushing that, and hopefully, we do some crazy numbers on that.
Yeah, I mean, it would be amazing. I want to ask, just lastly here, you mentioned that your younger self would be so proud of how far you've come and what you've done. What would you say to that younger self if he was here in the room today?
I'll tell him to just stay by himself and just lock in, because everybody's not on the same time as you, everybody is not, because I don't know, I came in the game thinking like, these are my brothers, these are my, friends, we're all gonna make it together, I feel like a lot of artists do, and I feel like that took a lot of energy and a lot of time from me, trying to get everybody on board, whereas I could have just locked in, and if they were with it, we would have met up on the journey. But I'll tell my younger self that. That's about it. But
amazing. Is there anything that I maybe missed or didn't mention that you would like to, in the last couple of minutes, just share? Anything, any closing words or comments?
I feel like every young kid, or especially every young Black kid, should educate their mind. Don't take education for granted, because the world is pushing that on you, There's a lot of things you can learn and understand about the situation you're in, or the situation you and your peoples are in, and don't neglect that, educate your mind, stay 10 toes, stay focused, Don't forget the goals, don't forget the end goal, Don't get lost in the means, And make sure you're proud of who you are at the end of the day. Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
This has been delightful. We're joined here today by Dyelle as Sask Music celebrates Black History Month 2026 with conversations with some, as you can hear, exceptional Saskatoon Black musicians. But to learn a little bit more about the type of support that Sask Music offers across the province, you can visit their website at www.saskmusic.org. Thank you again for joining us.
Appreciate you.